Ladies and gentlemen, it's a dobry večer to you all. Once again, from the GT Ukraine YouTube channel. My name is Prototype, and you're joining me tonight for the final race of Season 1 2025 in the Asolith Design Endurance Championship. And boy, we've got an interesting race in store for you, because for the first time this season, it's a mixed lobby. Tier 1 and Tier 2 will both be racing together because we only have 15 cars on track, both tiers combined. A couple of fresh faces, a couple of fresh names for us, and the final race of the season that will decide championship positions, relegations, promotions, and all of that good stuff. I have to apologize. Tonight I am relying on my gamepad as opposed to the usual setup with the keyboard. It seems that my cat has finally got to that little USB receiver, and I just couldn't find it tonight. So we'll be clicking through a little more manually, but I hope this won't detract from the viewing experience. As we always do ahead of qualifying, while practice is still underway, let's try and familiarize ourselves with all of the different drivers on track. And boy, we've got a few fresh names out there. Let's try and keep an eye out for them. So in P16 in Tier 2 is Sweep, I guess. 23 points. Sweep only joined the championship a few races in, so that explains his last position in the championship. But with only 7 Tier 2 drivers taking part tonight, he will be looking to promote himself pretty seriously. He will score significantly, at least 17 points for P7, and he'll promote himself all the way into the mid-pack. By the way, while we're waiting for qualifying to start, I have to explain how the mixed lobby works. So even though we will have 15 cars on track, there will be effectively 2 races happening separately from each other, so the Tier 1 drivers are only competing amongst themselves and scoring points as if they were the only ones on track. The same applies to Tier 2 drivers, so whoever ends up the leading Tier 2 car will be declared the Tier 2 winner for today, and so on and so forth, all the way down to last place, which for Tier 1 tonight is going to be P8, and for Tier 2, P7. I really hope that makes sense. It does make sense in my head. So let's keep familiarizing ourselves with the drivers out on track. So Sweep is P16. He was chilling in the pits. Now he's out on track. He's racing the Group 1 Audi. Yeah, and the race is on Group 1 machinery today. As qualifying is set to begin, we have one driver in Ayrton Senna, who is on mediums, but I'm sure he will switch over to the softs. We're in Japan, Suzuka, for the final race, and this is going to be a super enduro. Instead of the usual 1 hour, our drivers will be out there for 1.5 hours in the race. Qualifying starts and the drivers are out on track. Unlike what we've seen before... Oh no, hold on. I wanted to say that, unlike what we've seen before, it isn't Gadget the host who leads the pack, but I believe this is just the timing having a bit of a nightmare, and as it works itself out, yep, Gadget is leading the pack in the SRT Tomahawk. Right, just to give you an overview, we've got Sweep in P16 in Tier 2, then Jason Haldier is racing, there he is, in the Genesis. He is 10th in Tier 2 with 40 points to his name. Then goes Ayrton Senna, who is driving the... What is this? Is this the Toyota? I can't tell. I'm just blind. So he's in P7 on 85 points. Then Mickey. Oh, that's the Hyundai. I can recognize that. He's P5 with 99. And then we get to the top 4, who are locked in a pretty juicy fight. So in P4 in the championship is Zulu. There he is. Zulu is only trailing 5 points against Juba Ju. There's Juba, who's in P3. So between these two, there's going to be a juicy fight today. And then at the top of the Tier 2 table is Walker Space, who could have been challenged by Vinhlovsky tonight, but Vinhlovsky, who's in P2 in the championship, has decided not to participate, and thus that guarantees the Tier 2 title for Walker Space, my compatriot from Ukraine. Right, I've missed the opportunity to join Gadget for a flying lap, so let's do the same with Walker, a flying lap around Suzuka. So we're barreling down the main straight towards the first corner, and this is a tricky one in any machinery. He goes down the gears into second and feeds it into corner 2. Now, the beloved or behated Sector 1 with the S's, and Walker is pretty aggressive in that first part, but I feel he might have missed the apex just a little bit. Here, feeds it nicely onto the curb, plays with the accelerator a little bit, and now we're powering on to this long left-hander. No need to think of brakes now, but we approach the Degnas. Here goes Degna 1. Now it was pretty conservative. Degna 2, he takes a bit more of that curb, but I feel that switch, the way he's shifted up the gears there, he might have lost a bit of that acceleration. Now into the hairpin, and he stays very far away from the curb. Quite surprising to me, that one. Walker is now powering towards Spoon section, and just a couple of corners now to go, even though it feels like he's pretty far from the finish line. That was a good, clean Spoon corner as Gadget crosses the line with a 44.5. That's beaten by Flapjack and then by Teovo. Live slots in, all the times are coming in, but let's stay focused on Walker's lap time. Now approaching 130R. Will he lift? No, he keeps it planted, as you should in the Group 1s. And now just the Casio triangle left to go. He shifts down to first, feeds it nicely over the curb, and the second one as well. This is going to be a clean acceleration for Walker Space as he powers towards the line. What's it going to be for him? It's a 145 flat, and he's now in P9. Zulu, his direct competitor from Tier 2, beats him and takes P8. Ahead of him is Vlive, Gadget, Mark, Flapjack, Teovo, G-Rabbit, and Funniest Cowboy. So there's one person from Tier 1, which is GTO, who is sort of separated from the rest of his Tier 1 peers. He should have been in P8 if we followed the tier logic, but Zulu, Walker, and Juba Ju, very tellingly, the top 3 drivers in Tier 2, all slot in ahead of GTO, and Juba loses control as he exits the hairpin, and he will just need to be cautious now. Yeah, and he's found the right gear, found the right slot to return onto the track safely, but he has got front bumper damage, so he'll probably need to dive into the pits for a replacement. Oh yeah, and again, coming back to the way the mixed lobby works, we are using Tier 1 rules, so settings are open. The drivers can play with aerodynamics and suspension as Teovo promotes himself to P3 with his latest run, and then Mark is in P4, and Zulu is now P6, so definitely hoping for that promotion following Season 1 is Zulu. He needs to outperform Juba Ju tonight to claim P3 and be promoted. G-Rabbit, the reigning champion and the new champion, isn't on pole position just yet, but what a dominant season this has been for G-Rabbit. We are only taking into account the best 6 results for every driver, and for G-Rabbit, those 6 results are 6 victories. Now, if that isn't domination, I don't know what is. It's been an outstanding season for G-Rabbit, and he gets to enjoy himself tonight as the driver's title is already settled. And I've looked at the team standings. Although GT Ukraine of Cartman and Lenz are ahead, because neither of them is participating tonight, they will lose the championship to Team Motion Blur Yellow, represented by G-Rabbit and GTO. The lowest GTO can finish today is P8, which will give him easily enough to take his team to the championship title. So it's an all-rounder for G-Rabbit and for Team Motion Blur Yellow. They will be clinching that victory tonight. Hello, chat. Hello, Luco. Hello, Cartman. Such a pity not to have you out on track, guys. Ukraine for podium, says Cartman. Hee-ha. But that would need to be Walker or Zulu. And neither of them right now seem to be quite up there. If you're looking at the absolute standings, of course, in Tier 2, both of them are. Zulu is on provisional pole, de facto, and Walker is P2. So an all-Ukrainian front row in Tier 2 at the moment, as the drivers dive into the pits for a replacement of tires. Luco, good evening, Prototype. Thank you for your service. Luco, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, by the way, just to break the news, unfortunately, I will be stepping away from commentating for ADEC for the time being. So for now, this is the race where I say goodbye and see you again. Just a few things in real life getting into the way, but as soon as I can, I hope to come back to you, because this is a great, enjoyable experience for me as well. Senna promotes himself to what is now P13 in the qualifying session. He is losing out almost more than 4 seconds to provisional pole in Tier 1, but in his tier, I believe this makes him P5? I think it's P5. Though my math is not as strong. In Tier 1, it's an all-finish top 3 with Funniest Cowboy, G-Rabbit, and Teovo. Cowboy, to remind you, is the promoted Tier 2 champion. So the fact that a driver is in Tier 2 is in no way a suggestion that he is slow. Funniest Cowboy has been promoted, and he is imposing his authority. Although, just as I say that, G-Rabbit crosses the line and takes provisional pole on a 1:42.2. There's an interesting dynamic in Group 1 cars in that G-Rabbit is driving the Tomahawk, which is not a hybrid. So it's entirely internal combustion engine powered, whereas Funniest Cowboy, Teovo, and a lot of their other Tier 1 peers are driving hybrid cars, which can be different in how they consume their battery. For example, Funniest Cowboy, as you can see right now, is on a full battery, but as he progresses through the lap, that battery is going to deplete, and he will lose a bit of acceleration towards the end of the lap. Last time we were racing in Group 1 machinery, which was round 2 at Sardinia, it was Funniest Cowboy and G-Rabbit who kept fighting for pretty much the entire race, and it came down to something like less than 2/10 between them at the finish line. Let's see what Suzuka throws our way tonight. There is the chance of rain, and as you can see, the weather is pretty overcast at the moment. We've had our weather draw, and near near the end of the race, there is a strong chance of rain coming down as Gadget promotes himself to P6. Gadget told me he wasn't expecting great things from himself, having been on holiday for 3 weeks, but P6 is not too shabby at all. Mark is in P5, Vlive promotes himself to P4, but I want to go back to Funniest Cowboy, because at the split before the hairpin, he was doing pretty fine, but it looks like GTO gets in his way, and Funniest Cowboy dives into the pits, because this is this will not be a great lap that he can count on. Thanks, Cartman. I appreciate this. Thanks. Amazing job. Yeah, I appreciate the comments. I've had a great time. This has been a blast. Yeah, if I join you on track, it would be even better. Well, who knows? Life is turbulent these days, as I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, in Ukraine especially. Let's see what the future brings and what we'll be able to do with it. So Funniest Cowboy is back out on track on a fresh set of softs. He will do his best to recharge the battery ahead of a flying lap. The timer is now in the 13th minute. Qualifying is 15 minutes long, so we don't have too long to go now before we know the starting order. G-Rabbit is also on a fresh set of softs, just like Funniest Cowboy. Teovo seems to be completing a run, but he still has time, if he wants to dive into the pits and probably make it for one last run. Vlive is cutting it pretty close, but there goes Teovo. He's in the pits. Mark is circulating out there, and he improves to a 43.7. That still keeps him in P5, and he's just 27 one-thousandths of a second behind Vlive. That's tantalizingly close, but right now Mark is still on for row number 3 on the grid. Gadget is in P6, and he's on pretty worn softs, but I'm not sure he's going to have time to switch, and he doesn't need to, because he's on an improvement anyway. Let's join Gadget and see how he does through the Degners. Oh, now that is what I want to see. That is a much more aggressive way to attack the curb there. A little timid on the exit as Flapjack improves to a 43.8, and that puts him 6th on the grid. Nice lines by Gadget, but again a little timid on the acceleration, and that traction control kicks in, controlling the power output, and probably not doing any favors to Gadget in terms of acceleration. How's he going to do through Spoon Corner? That's okay, but drifts a little wide. Those softs are not fresh enough to quite give him the grip he needs to make that corner perfect. What's the split going to show to Gadget? And he's down on his personal best now by 0.2 through 130R, and he powers towards the line. I'm going to stay with Gadget anyway, because he's the car closest to crossing the line at the moment. It's too late for him to dive into the pits. He just needs to hope that he's doing a good enough job, and this isn't an improvement. What about Mark? Oh, he finds the improvement and finally propels himself into P4 past Vlive. There goes Vlive, and it's no improvement for him. Who's the next car? The next car is Ayrton Senna, and he crosses the line to promote himself into P12. How's Teovo going to do? Teovo is just starting a lap, and he's been very good in terms of charging up that battery and giving himself the best opportunity for a flying lap. I say we stick with Teovo and see how he does, as Jason Holder improves to 51.5, but he doesn't make it into the top 8 that we have on screen at the moment. So it seems like we're up for a finish top 3 once again, but let's see if there is going to be any change. Right now Teovo is not up on his personal best, but it's close, so he could find some time. There's a car ahead of him. There's Ayrton Senna, not interfering with him at the moment, as he's now 0.2 of a second up on his personal best. This would not be enough to improve Teovo's position, but who knows, maybe he finds a little more as Mickey improves to a 46.2. doesn't make it into the top 8. Walker's pace is now on a 44.9. It seems like Zulu is set to take... Oh, no! That was a poor decision to return on track like that. So Ayrton, I think, might have interfered with Teovo's lap a little bit. What's the split gonna say? Teovo is still up, so who knows? Maybe Ayrton actually helped him make that corner. Will Teovo find a dramatic improvement? Through the final chicane he goes, and he's done a good job on the battery. It's pretty much full. By the end of the lap, he crosses the line, and it's a 42.5. He improves, but doesn't change position. Behind him, a lot of drivers have already finished their laps, and there's just one person who is G-Rabbit, and he finds an improvement to solidify his P1, the pole position in Tier 1, and it's a 142.1 for him in the end. And that completes qualifying for us. So let's understand what happened. In Tier 1, it's G-Rabbit who is on pole, the reigning champion and the de facto champion in this edition of the Absolute Design Endurance Championship. Joining him on row 1 is Funniest Cowboy, then comes Teovo and Mark GT. Vlive's 5th, Flapjack is 6th, Gadget is 7th, and then comes the top Tier 2 car of Zulu. So Zulu will get the 3 points for Tier 2 pole position. Joining him on what will be row... Oh my god, I'm losing it here on... No, he's not joining. So starting in row 5 is Jubaju. He's joined by Walker Space. Then comes the bottom car of Tier 1 in GTO 250, joined by Ayrton Senna. Then Mickey, Sweep, and Jason Haldier in the Genesis closes out the 15 drivers that we will have racing tonight. Well, G-Rabbit, what can you say? This man has been on a rampage this season. There was this one race around, what's it called? Not the Super Speedway. High Speed Ring, there we go. The High Speed Ring, where Cartman took his only win of the season and broke G-Rabbit's winning spree, but otherwise the Finn has been untouchable. In Tier 2, Zulus's P8, which is effectively pole for Tier 2, is significant. He scores 3 points and puts himself within just 2 points of Juba Ju in the fight for P3 in Tier 2. Juba is right near him, so this is a juicy little battle that I will need to follow at the start. Juba needs to defend his position. Both of them will easily outscore their worst results, so it's just a fair scrap on the track. If Zulu wins this, he's P3, and he gets the promotion to Tier 1. So all to play for. Right, I'm going to take a quick break, and in 3 minutes, we will be starting the race. Stock up on your favorite snacks and drinks, because we'll be here for 90 minutes. Stay with me, and I'll see you very soon. Alrighty, ladies and gents, I've made one last-ditch attempt to find the keyboard receiver, but alas, I've been unsuccessful. So, we'll be using the gamepad to control the camera tonight. No replays, unfortunately, but I hope we can still enjoy this one. And, well, I'm not going to say what I'm going to do to the cat, but, yeah. Anyway, right, all to play for in Tier 2, especially for the drivers, as the command has been given that we will be starting soon, but for now, there it is, there's the countdown, just 10 seconds away now from the race starting. Let's get this show going, 90 minutes on Suzuka, with a good decent chance of rain in Group 1 machinery. This is going to be fun. Let me bring up all the overlays. So it's G-Rabbit from Funniest Cowboy, from Teodor, then Mark, Vlive, Flapjack, Gadget, Zulu, Juba, Walker, GTO, and there's a good difference in strategies, including some drivers on intermediates. It's 5 red lights. And away we go for the final race of the season. G-Rabbit starts wonderfully, and Vlive is up there in the SRT Tomahawk. It obviously pulls off the line, and Vlive will be challenging for P2, but Funniest Cowboy defends competently. There is contact behind. I can see that Walker is now in P8, and Zulu is P9. GTO follows them. Mickey's then 11th. Ayrton and Juba Ju lost out significantly at the start. Perhaps a bit of contact through turn 1. He's now P13 on the track. And we do have 2 drivers in Jason Haldier and Sweep who are on intermediates, but the track is not wet enough. For those of you who are not quite familiar with the way rain works in Gran Turismo, there's a humidity meter on the bottom left of your screen, right next to the tire indicator, and when it's in the bottom third, like it is now, it's okay for slicks. The track might be a little damp, but you don't need intermediates to drive on this sort of surface, so the intermediate shot drivers have really not done themselves any favor at the start here. Now, GTO is pursuing Zulu and Walker. These are Tier 2 drivers, while GTO is in Tier 1. But look at that! Ayrton Senna closes the gap! That hybrid system really helped him against the Tomahawk, and he's clean through before they even approach 130R. Behind, Mickey has made a bit of a mistake, and he's in a fight with Juba Ju. Juba stays behind for now in P13, but you get the impression that he is readying for an overtake. Let's go on board, and not just on board, this is first-person view from Juba Ju's eyes, but that Hyundai is pulling away, so Juba needs to find something unusual, but then Mickey just makes a mistake and gifts him the position. How is Mickey doing now? He's in P13, but he's on the hards, so he doesn't need to be particularly concerned with the fact that he might lack a bit of pace. Sweep is still circulating on the intermediates. Jason has accepted his mistake and is pitting because the track is dry. The track has dried up. That was just a little scare for the drivers, but nothing more. Okay, G-Rabbit is in P1. Cowboy is second. Vlive, after that wonderful blistering start, is now in P3. Gadget is fourth. Obviously, the Tomahawks, and they have an advantage at the start, so they're all doing well. Teodor is down to P5. Mark is sixth. Flapjack is seventh, and he is being pressured by Walker for what is P7 in the absolute race, and well, Walker is the leader in Tier 2 anyway, so he doesn't really need to make this pass, only if he feels that Flapjack is keeping him behind and preventing him from doing his best personal pace. Now, while I'm doing this run, I forgot to have a look at tires, but the top 7 is all on mediums, and also top 8. And Zulu is on mediums. Ayrton is on softs, so he can be faster than the cars around him. And that's probably what's keeping him so close to Zulu. The Group 1 cars are very susceptible to dirty air, so following another car is difficult as Walker is extremely close to Flapjack and he really wants to make that overtake, and there's even a bit of contact between them. We're on board with Walker. Well, obviously he's not going to find space for an overtake here in the S's. This is a very technical section and dirty air is going to be super strong through here, but he needs to size something up, probably on the back straight before 130R or on the main straight. In terms of battery, the situation is exactly the same for Flapjack and Walker. The battery is depleted at this point and they're only getting a bit of a boost as they accelerate out of corners, but no more. Zulu is staying close enough and his battery is much better, so a difference in cars between Zulu and Walker. I'm just going to find the table real quick to have a look at what these cars are. I just can't tell looking at them the way we are. So Zulu is driving the... hold on. This can't be right. The Audi? Is this what the Audi looks like? No way. Okay, never mind. And Walker is in the Porsche 911 Hybrid. Okay, that makes sense to me. So maybe this is the Audi, and it's just so different in how it spends its battery. But still, Zulu is a fair distance behind Walker right now. No direct fighting between them, perhaps mindful of dirty air and trying to preserve his tires, while Walker is staying real close to Flapjack. Oh, and I just noticed that Flapjack is on the old Frankenstein tire strategy. Mediums at the front, softs at the rear. We've seen, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen this used. It has been used in the previous race 2 weeks ago at Interlagos. Well, and for now, I guess the judgment is that the rears are not taxed as much around Suzuka. It really is a front-heavy circuit, and so Flapjack thought he would give himself that bit of extra traction out of key corners for the beginning of the race. I would say the race has generally calmed down at this point. Group 1s, again, very aerodynamically dependent, and so not particularly easy to follow another car. The field has spread out pretty quickly, and we're just seeing a procession for now. Let's wait until strategies play out. Sweep is in the other Audi, and this is the Audi VGT. So yeah, I guess Zulu is in the actual hybrid Le Mans Audi car, and it's very different in the way it consumes its battery. How is our leader doing? The leader is doing fine, thank you. G-Rabbit is now 4.6 seconds ahead of Funniest Cowboy, who is in P2. So we aren't seeing them stay as close to each other as in the previous Group 1 race. Cowboy is in the Audi R18. For him, championship-wise, he's P3 at the moment, so Cartman, who's in P2, is out of reach. So all Funniest Cowboy needs to do is defend his position from his teammate, Telvo, who is now P5. So in that sense, for Funniest Cowboy, everything is going just well. I don't think the two Finlanders boys have a chance of reaching GT Ukraine for P2 in the championship. So this is just about them trying to do as well as they can in this specific race. People who are doing really well are Vlive and Gadget for Team Motion Blur Orange. Vlive, if he were to finish in P3, well, he scores a 0.5 second penalty. This would be easily his best result and his first podium of the season. Still a long way to go, of course. We're just 9 minutes into this 90-minute race. But right now it's looking good for Vlive as he holds on to P3 and has his teammate Gadget for rear gunner protecting him from P4. As was the case with the previous Group 1 race, this is probably going to turn into a race of strategy, a race of patience, a race of reading the weather radar as well and making the right calls. I don't expect a lot of wheel-to-wheel action on the track just because it's so difficult to follow in these cars. Something must have happened with Walker Space here, because he used to be pressuring Flapjack for P7 but is now down to P9, and I'm noticing that there are some significant differences in tire wear, but then I'm reminded that Flapjack is just he's got a pair of softs on the rear axle, which explains why those rears are not looking particularly good. So right now Zulu leads the Tier 2 field, and that would give him enough to promote him to P3 in the Tier 2 championship. How is Juba doing? After the perturbations of lap 1, Juba is now chasing Mickey again? Something must have happened to Juba, or he might have pit? No, this just looks like he made a mistake. Yeah, lap 4 looks a little slow for him with a 1:56.6. That's 10 seconds. That's 10 seconds lost, effectively. And he's having a fun little fight with Mickey as it's getting darker out on track in Suzuka. So the drivers will also have to contend with limited visibility. We join Juba on board once again as Mickey seems to have unorthodox braking spots and racing lines, as wow, they're in a bit of a scrap, and Mickey, even though he feels a little slow right now as we're watching him from Juba Ju's camera, he is not ready to give up. And ooh, what a juicy little around the outside overtake. Juba Ju pulls on Mickey as Haldir retires from the race and leaves the lobby altogether. So we are left with 14 cars out on track. So Juba promotes himself to 12th, but he is now almost 9 seconds behind GTO in 11th. So he will have some catching up to do if he wants to hold on to that P3 in Tier 2. Don't forget to drop a like, and if you feel like donating to your commentator, there's a link to the donation service in the description of this broadcast. I would appreciate that a lot. Oh, and we've got yellow flags. Ayrton Senna is in the wall. The entire front axle is damaged, and that's just bad news for him. He was on the softs, so I imagine that car just got a little too unruly for Ayrton Senna, and he finds himself in the wall and with damage. It will make sense for him to pit now and to hope that through strategy and maybe a bit of luck he can get himself back into the race. And there he is. He's diving into the pits. 76% fuel remains in the tank after 13 minutes of driving, so about a quarter is what he spent. That's all right. That's looking good. So how long then does a full tank go? Probably around, yeah, you could probably extend it to about an hour, maybe 50 minutes. So that's good news. That means that fuel-wise, a 90-minute race only requires one pit stop. So some drivers, I'm sure, took that into account, but the mediums on G-Rabbits or Funniest Cowboys car, they seem to be wearing out a little too quickly for them to seriously hope for a one stop. So maybe 2 stops, maybe 3. If the rain comes at the end of the race, that could throw everything, a great spanner into the works. And oh, that's a lovely shot as the cars, as the brakes on the cars glow through the darkness. That is beautiful. I've been dabbing a little bit in other simulators, and I've been invited to commentate on Assetto Corsa Competizione for a domestic Ukrainian championship, and you know, the racing is good, and I understand the depth of the simulator technically. Gran Turismo is still unbeaten when it comes to visuals. Just I always love coming back to Gran Turismo broadcasts. Just the crispiness of the picture is something that brings me a lot of joy. We watched Teovo, we watched this little train from Gadget to Teovo and then to Mark GT. The three of them are very close to each other, and you get the impression that in clean air, Teovo would have been faster than Gadget. He's keeping him under pressure, but struggling to find a way past. Now, I have to confess, I don't remember if Suzuka has the full 24-hour cycle in Gran Turismo 7, or are we now stuck with this sort of night level of light until the end of the race? Let me know, chat, if you know, or maybe take the time to look it up. Does Suzuka have the full 24-hour cycle? Will we see dawn breaking a little later in the race, or are we stuck with headlights and darkness until the end of this one? Flapjack continues to circulate on a rather short set of softs on the rear tires, on the rear wheels. So I expect that Flapjack should be the first one to pit. Maybe not now, but closer to 20 minutes into the race, it would make sense, at least in my imagination. Zulu is staying strong in P8 and what is effectively P1 in Tier 2. Walker has drawn a little closer, and he seems to have dropped GTO. Juba is still around 11 seconds behind GTO, so a lot of ground for Juba to try and make up if he still wants to fight Zulu and Walker for what is effectively P1 and P2 in Tier 2 in the race. After pitting, Ayrton is out on a first set of softs. He's done a 1:49 last lap, 5 seconds slower than G-Rabbit, but I mean, G-Rabbit puts a lot of time even on his peers in Tier 1, so there's no shame in losing out by a few seconds. I mean, Funniest Cowboy is 1.3 seconds slower than G-Rabbit, and they're in the same tier as G-Rabbit. Laps sweep, I believe. Yep, he laps sweep. That's how fast the Tier 1 leader is at the moment. Let's join G-Rabbit on board. What is he seeing? Well, not much, I can tell you. Those headlights are doing a good job, but they're not illuminating it particularly far, are they? this is a real test of how well you know the track, how strongly the lines are etched into your memory. G-Rabbit is obviously doing a fantastic job, and hats off to him tonight. I've looked up the answer to my question, and it seems that on Suzuka the clock stops at 7:40 p.m. So we're going to be stuck with this level of lighting until the end of the race. And this is quite a bit of a challenge for the drivers, I think, especially if someone's less experienced and has spent less time lapping around Suzuka. They might find it a little off-putting that you have to know where you're going. Well, that may sound wrong, that may come out wrong, but I mean, you have to have that intuitive sensation as Teovo goes for the overtake and makes the overtake against Gadget. That was a daring move by him, and I'm not sure Gadget quite expected Teovo to dive up the inside, but the opportunity was there and he went for it. Great move by Teovo, and he takes P4 now as Flapjack has pit, dropping that set of softs on his rear wheels, and he is now out back on track on a fresh set of mediums. I'm back to this little fight. This is the closest group we have on track at the moment, and it used to be led by Gadget, but it's now led by Teovo. So he's free to try and pursue Live, and well, I'm not sure what it is. In terms of tire wear, the situation is very similar between Gadget and Teovo, so it's just probably Teovo has finally been able to find a breach in the defense. As who's this? Oh no! Walker Space is out into the grass at the hairpin. He was following Zulu very close, but now has lost a bit of time. I saw him spinning around on the mini-map. Looks like the acceleration caught Walker Space out. He stays in effective P2 for Tier 2, but Juba Ju is now a lot closer to him. Juba has not yet... Well, I mean, he is actually falling away from GTO, but through Walker's mistake, he is now closer to Walker and in with a chance of promoting himself to P2 should Walker make any more mistakes. I think the guys running on the full medium sets, not the little Frankenstein combinations, are probably starting to think about pit stops soon. I mean, some of these mediums, yeah, they're at around 50% useful life. They can still do, of course, a couple of laps, but are those laps going to be fast? The drivers are probably hoping to take it to around 30 minutes, which puts them on track for a two-stop, medium, 3 stints on mediums with something different possibly at the end should the rain come. So strategy is soon going to play out as Teovo is engaged in battle with Live. Let's go on board as they're side by side and Teovo dives up the inside into the Casio triangle. So within a matter of just a couple of laps, Teovo finds his way past 2 Team Motion Blur Orange SRT Tomahawks, and he's now in P3. We are back to a fully finished top three of G-Rabbit, Funniest Cowboy, and Teovo. Let's go on board with Vlive as he tries to stay with Teovo, but that hybrid, that Audi hybrid, has the pull in the acceleration zones. He can just... Is this the Audi, or am I being silly again? Teovo is racing... yeah, the Audi R18. I have not lost my mind just yet. Yeah, and that hybrid really gives him the advantage through acceleration. He pulls out of the traction zones in a way that the Tomahawks are simply unable to do. And the Tomahawks seem to be a little worse off when it comes to the condition of their front tires. Mark GT, through all this fighting, has actually brought himself closer to Vlive and Gadget, and the guys obviously need to keep staying out. They can't dive into the pits right now, but obviously at the end of their stints, they're vulnerable. They're losing pace, and we're on board now with Mark, and he's got these two targets in his sights. He will be hoping to try and overtake Vlive and Gadget before it's time to pit. Zulu, I have to say, is doing a very competent job leading in Tier 2. He's P7 on the road, 44 seconds behind the absolute leader, but in Tier 2, his nearest challenger is Walker Space, who is round about 10 seconds away. So it's looking good for Zulu, and it's looking good for him in terms of clinching P3 in the championship. Walker, after that mistake, seems to have generally recovered. Oh yeah, look at the time loss on lap 12. He's dropped something like 15 seconds almost. It's 14 and a bit. But still staying in P2. Flapjack is behind him, 1.5 seconds, and then another 6 seconds to Jubaju, who is effectively P3 in Tier 2. Oh, and as we're looking at Juba, he makes a mistake, recovers it quickly. I'm going to give it to Juba. That was a graceful recovery, and he loses no positions, only sheds a bit of time. He got caught out on the curb as he was trying to accelerate out of Degna 2. Approaching the half-hour mark, and under normal circumstances this would be around half race distance, but this time it's only a third. We still have 60 minutes to go after we reach the half-hour mark. We've still got 14 drivers out on track. G-Rabbit leads comfortably. He's 12 seconds ahead of Funniest Cowboy, who is almost 14 seconds ahead of Teovo. Teovo had to bide his time behind Team Motion Blur Orange, represented by Vlive and Gadget, but now towards the end of this stint, the Tomahawks of Vlive and Gadget seem to be really struggling with their tires, and they seem to be now vulnerable to Mark GT, who is chasing Gadget from P6 and trying to put him under a bit of pressure, and hopefully for Mark, of course, take that P5 away from him before they pit. We are definitely approaching the pit window for everyone on the mediums, which is most of the cars on track. Zulu effectively leads in Tier 2. GTO closes out... Well, actually, no. He is second from the rear in Tier 1, because Flapjack, after his early pit stop, is now effectively last. Walker Space is P2 in Tier 2. Juba is some 13 seconds, or almost 14 seconds behind him. Then comes Mickey, Ayrton Senna, and Sweep closes out the entire field. And I believe, who's that ahead of him? That must be one of the Finlanders' cars, so he is certainly a lap down, and not just to the leader, but some of the other cars ahead of him. Oh, that isn't even... Oh, wow. Hold on. That's Flapjack. Flapjack is ahead of Sweep. Right, GTO and Walker Space, the first ones to blink and pit from the mediums. GTO also takes a bit of fuel, as does Walker Space. GTO is back out on the mediums, and he pits almost at exactly the half-hour mark, suggesting that should the race stay dry, he's on a 2-stop, and he's just completed his first pit stop. Walker is back on track, also on mediums, so same strategy for him. He took a bit of fuel, round about the same as GTO, maybe just a bit less. But still very close and very similar for the two pitters. Ayrton Senna's softs aren't looking great any longer. He's been committed to driving the softs now for 2 stints, and while the medium runners are only completing his first pit stops, Ayrton will very soon need to take a second stop. So probably hurting himself a little bit with this strategy. I don't quite see how it's going to be beneficial to Ayrton Senna in the long run. Sweep is out there on hards, so supposedly going very long, but also losing a significant amount of time. He's down by 1 minute and 20 seconds against Ayrton Senna, who's ahead of him in P13. So at the moment it seems that Sweep lacks the pace to really be in the fight. Now, someone who doesn't lack any pace, of course, is G-Rabbit, comfortably in P1 and still extending his lead, now up to 13.6 seconds, and he can already see Ayrton Senna ahead, so he will soon be lapping him. Ayrton has not been lapped. Ayrton is still on the same lap as the leader, but it's coming. G-Rabbit will soon be challenging him, so to speak. I see a tight little battle out on track, and it's Gadget versus Mark GT. Still, we're on board with Mark, and he's still following Gadget, still can't quite find a way past him. He's close on his toes, and the gap is less than 0.3 of a second. It's coming down, it's 0.2 now, but too far. Unless Mark is as audacious as Teuro was with his dive against Gadget, I'm not sure he's going to be able to find an easy overtaking spot. As, correct me if I'm wrong, has it become a little brighter out on track, or is it just me hallucinating? Probably hallucinating. Never mind, the commentator is a little off. It's been a long season. 8 races every 2 weeks. It takes a while. I remember we started in, what was it? Was it January or February? It's amazing how time flies as Mark draws very close to Gadget. I think he thought about it, but Gadget was aware of his car positioning, and he closes the avenue of any potential attack, so Mark stays behind for the time being. What's happening behind? Flapjack is in P7, he's in no man's land. Zulu is 8th, and he's completed a pit stop as well. While there's fighting, oh my god, look at this. So Mickey is 10th, Walker's 11th. Something must have happened to Walker. Oh no, Mickey is just on hards. So he's doing an alternative strategy, and Walker and Juba are now super close to each other, but with the caveat that Walker has completed his pit stop and Juba has not. So it's all kicking off here at the tail end of the field as Teuro pits. He had 38% of fuel in his tank. Let's see what he does in terms of pit stops. He took it almost 35 minutes into the race. Well, still probably on a 2-stop, but just extending these stints in the hope that he will then be making a natural final pit stop on whatever is required. Looking at the weather, we expect rain, or at least there's an increased possibility of rain at the end of the race, something at around 70 to 80 minutes into the race. So Teuro there is giving himself the chance of making it to 70 minutes and then changing to whatever is going to be required at the time. That's smart play from Teuro. He's doing a good job. Right, we're watching this fight. This is for position between Walker, Space, and Mickey. They're on different strategies. Walker has already pit. Mickey hasn't. He's on hards. So it's all to play for. G-Rabbit pits. The leader is pitting. Makes no sense for us actually to switch over to him. We can enjoy this little juicy battle between Mickey and Walker Space. Mickey has been in a couple of fights, but look at the way the hybrid pulls. But then the Hyundai sort of has a good secondary acceleration phase, but yeah, Walker just closes it off and leaves Mickey behind. That was a good little one, and great driving from the Tier 2 boys. They're demonstrating what clean fighting is all about, as Walker loses it once again on the acceleration, and Mickey is now past him once again. All that great work undone, and Walker will have to go again and try to pass Mickey just one more time. His car, Walker's, the Audi, right, seems to be a little unruly on accelerations. No, the Porsche 911. Walker seems to be having a bit of a hard time controlling the throttle as he exits the hairpin, especially. Obviously, the slowest corner on track, so a very important traction zone, and probably if you're a little too aggressive on the pedal, that can really unsettle the car. Walker is going for another move, and he was in the slipstream. They're side by side going down the main straight, but I expect, since Walker is on the inside, he will be able to close this out, but they make contact, and this is not over. Walker actually lets Mickey back past, because I think Walker would be the one to blame in that situation, so some good sportsmanship from him. He doesn't want any protests. He doesn't want the stewards to get involved. Mickey lives to fight another day. He's got curious lines, the way he works with his car, and yeah, the Hyundai sort of isn't great at the initial acceleration, but it then pulls as the Porsche loses its hybrid battery and cannot compete on acceleration. This is an interesting little fight, and Juba, if these two keep fighting, Juba is also going to be very close, as Walker and Mickey are side by side once again, with Walker on the outside at the hairpin. That is not an orthodox place to make an overtake, and Mickey sends him elsewhere, so to speak, and they keep on fighting. This is a tantalizing fight. I'm going to switch over to the chase cam. This is completely not like real life, and there he goes. Walker Space pulls up once again, but just as he pulls out of the slipstream, the hybrid runs out and the Hyundai excels. So Walker needs to find somewhere where he will have enough to make the move. There he goes. He charges up the battery. That battery is now 50% charged. He's going to be good on the acceleration. He's in the slipstream. He will be able to close up the gap, but not enough. Not enough this time. So he'll have to find another place. But Mickey brakes so late, and Walker is able to close that gap and be right on his tail. He goes for it. They make contacts as side by side, but again, Mickey defends pretty competently. He's placing his car in all the right places, so Walker doesn't have an easy time. And Juba is right on the scene of this little fight. We'll be joining him on board as Walker draws nearby Mickey once again. There's enough space on the inside, but there's not enough speed for Walker. And Juba Jew goes for the inside, and he passes Walker Space into Degna 1. Holy hell, now that was a move from Juba. Walker will probably be very frustrated with what's happening right now. He's on the outside at the hairpin, and he's given enough space. You have to give it to Juba. This is not unsportsmanlike, and now Walker pulls by once again. But what a fight we're witnessing for Tier 2 glory. This is right now for effectively P2 on track. Mickey is on hards, so I'm not sure where he's gonna fit into the big picture once strategies play out and everything. Sweep seems to have retired from the race and left the lobby, so we're left with 13 drivers out on track. But who cares how many drivers we've got when we've got this sort of fighting happening? Mickey is pretty determined that he's not going to go down without a fight, and I feel Walker is going to be close once again. He pulls up in that slipstream. He pulls out of that slipstream, but there it is. No advantage at this point on the track. He must be so frustrated, but can he dive up the inside? He thinks about it, but Mickey's car is there, and then he goes for it into the second corner, and I think that might be finally job done for Walker Space. He has been made to work for that position, but unless he now makes a mistake, as he has done a few laps earlier, this seems to be job done to me. Well, that just goes to show, I mean, in a race, as a viewer, you don't sometimes get the opportunity to watch every single battle on track and see how stories between particular drivers develop. But an episode like that can really make or break your race. If you're Walker and you're on the faster, quote-unquote, strategy, where you pit earlier and now you need to be pumping in those good laps, getting stuck behind a driver on an alternative strategy who seems to not want to just let you by can be so frustrating, and it can really make or break your race. And tensions boil, and thankfully we saw very sportsmanlike fighting from the drivers out on track, but that isn't always the case. Right, let's understand what is happening elsewhere. Funniest Cowboy has taken these mediums to their absolute extreme. This is still the original set of mediums that he started on, and he's been so slow these last couple of laps that G-Rabbit, who has already pit, is now within 4 seconds away from Funniest Cowboy. Mark GT hasn't pit either. He's now in P3 on track, doing the same thing as Funniest Cowboy. Then comes Terrible, who's already pit and is on a fresh set of mediums. Flapjack is, well, I wouldn't say this isn't a fresh set of mediums. He pit earlier than everyone else because he did a shorter first stint. Then Vlive is close to Flapjack in what is a net P4, I guess, and then Gadget is 3.7 seconds behind Vlive. Zulu is just 3 seconds behind Gadget. I'm not sure how that worked out. Is Zulu saving fuel or something? Because he must have somehow compensated for... Yeah, so he must have avoided the time loss. I think he didn't take fuel, or at least took less fuel at his pit stop. GTO is in P9, also on a fresh set of mediums, so doing what effectively everyone else is doing, mostly. Then Walker is in P10, and he's now finally breaking away from Mickey. I think Walker will be pleased to see that Mickey is further and further with every corner. Mickey's in 11th, and he's actually pretty low on fuel, so he will need to pit one way or another soon, but it seems that his intention is to have this long first stint that will take him at least halfway into the race. Juba pits from the mediums, and he also extended them pretty significantly. Ayrton Senna is again on softs, so this must be his third stint, I gather. He's in P13. 50 seconds behind Juba. Oh no! Funniest Cowboy has left the session. I think that might be a disconnect issue for Funniest Cowboy, or a horrible rage quit. We won't be able to see a replay, so we won't be sure. That promotes G-Rabbit back into P1, and everyone bumps up, so Teowo is now probably in a net P2 after Mark pits. He's a little out of sync, and there he goes. He dives into the pits. So that will promote Teowo into P2. Flapjack, I'm not sure where Flapjack is in the grand scheme of things at the moment. He had a short first stint. This is his second stint, so in that sense, he's doing the same as the people around him. It's just this second stint started a lot earlier for him. Blythe is pursuing him in the SRT Tomahawk, but from what we've seen in the race before, it doesn't seem like the Tomahawk is capable of easily overtaking one of the hybrid cars. But taking into account the difference in tire wear, who knows? Who knows? Maybe Blythe will be able to find a way past Flapjack. Let's go on board with him and take a look at what this looks like from his POV. The internet failed, Funniest Cowboy. I see your comment in the chat. So sorry, mate. You seem to be doing very well in that one. Set for P2 easily. Interesting strategy, by the way. You were extending that stint, extending the hell out of that stint, if you don't mind my saying so. Were you like hoping for a one-stop strategy, mate? Let me know, what was the thinking behind that? We are still on board with Blythe, who's pressuring Flapjack and doing a good job at that, if you don't mind my saying so. But again, the hybrid has a bit of an advantage in the initial acceleration zones, but then as the straight progresses, Blythe just gets closer and closer. He doesn't seem to be too affected by dirty air, and he dives up the inside. There's a bit of contact. He doesn't consolidate the position, and I think that's fair from Blythe, because he would have gotten a bit of an unfair advantage because of that contact. So they both live to fight another day. Seems that Blythe has his eyes set on taking P3 away from Flapjack, and look how close he gets through the first couple of corners. I'm seeing some serious differences with the braking points for the different drivers. Very different lines through those first corners. Yeah, one stop, says Funniest Cowboy. Okay, well, valiant effort, Cowboy. What does that mean for you championship-wise? You're on 344 points. Teowo is in P2. I think Teowo might have a good chance of overtaking you, ultimately. So tough luck if that happens, but still, great performance from both of you guys this season. And hey, promoted from Tier 2, not shabby at all, the way you've raced in Season 1. Right, while I was saying that, Vlive is once again on the tail of Flapjack, and he gets really close. Let's see. Is it going to be a move into 130R? They're down the straight. They're down the straight. Oh, no, no. Oh, no, 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 no. Don't do it, mate. He doesn't. He doesn't, to the point where he was sort of blindsided a little by Flapjack's car and didn't turn in at the right time, and that's dirty tires for you. Flapjack struggles a little bit in the traction zone, but it's all fine. He keeps it on track. Gadget is also getting closer to the two drivers in front, so before long this could turn from a 2-horse race into a 3-horse race for P3 in this race. For Gadget, that would be a repetition of his best result, as Funniest Cowboy is now back in the lobby. It's unfortunate that in Gran Turismo you can't just log back in and continue racing, but welcome, Funniest Cowboy. I think you're doing a bit of a Kimi Raikkonen, watching the race from the yacht over in Monaco, the legendary, iconic Kimi. Yeah, enjoy the race now as a spectator, Funniest Cowboy. We're looking still at Vlive, trying to find a way past Flapjack, and look, it seems that it's long overdue. Vlive's tires are so much better at this point in the race. He just needs to keep his wits about him. A move into 130R is probably not a great idea, but a move on the main straight is easily on the cards. Look how close he can get through Spoon. He's obviously got a big advantage in terms of tires, so just needs to keep his wits about him. This is easy. This is going to be fine, Vlive. Come on, mate. Get it done. I think it's fine for the commentator to cheer a driver on like this. It's the last race of the season. I don't need to concern myself all that much with being neutral. And there he goes, Vlive. He hits pedal to the metal, but Flapjack accelerates very nicely. That's the issue. Flapjack's car charges up the battery through the final chicane, and he gets this great acceleration out onto the main straight, which makes the main straight a bit of a suboptimal location for Vlive to try and attack. The battery becomes depleted for Flapjack pretty early on in the lap. So maybe Vlive needs to find something else. Yeah, the Porsche 919 hybrid that Flapjack is driving is not particularly great on conserving its hybrid battery, as G-Rabbit pits, and that feels a little early to me, no? If you're doing a 2-stop, you would probably want to go a little longer into the race, but he's out on softs, so that gives me the idea that that G-Rabbit wants to do a short stint, and then he's hoping that the rain is going to be heavy enough to warrant a pit stop. Let's see what happens. So Flapjack's battery is depleted now, pretty much, and Vlive gets on his tail, but through the Casio triangle here, Flapjack charges up again. Ooh, he gets almost half of his battery, and then he's able to power away like this, leaving Vlive behind. Well, that makes it way more difficult for Vlive, because he needs to somehow either stay close ahead of the main straight, which is problematic, or think of an alternative location for an overtake. And where would that be? Where would that be? Degna 1? We've seen moves into Degna 1 tonight, and well, that really can get the pulse racing. Let's see what Live chooses to do now. Flapjack accelerates relatively well. He's out of battery. Not close enough this time. No way! Oh, he closes the door so late, does Flapjack. But I thought that would be a wonderful moment of commentator's prediction and not commentator's curse. Is right on the rear bumper of Flapjack is Live, and this might be his opportunity actually. Flapjack's battery is depleted now, so out of Spoon into 130R. I have to say, I stand corrected. Probably this back straight is Live's best opportunity. Oh, and he makes the dive, and does he make it stick? Yes, he does. But Live is going to be vulnerable now. Flapjack is close, his battery is charged, so he will be in the slipstream, he will be strong. It's just 1/10 between them. There is the onboard, that's them, side by side into turn one. Flapjack is on the inside, Live is on the outside. He bravely holds on to it around the outside, and Live defends it in a very unorthodox way. He keeps it around the outside, and he doesn't cede the position back to Flapjack. That was crucial for Live. If he wanted to consolidate the position, he needed to defend it from Flapjack into turn one, and he's done a great job with that. And Gadget is now pressuring Flapjack. Flapjack gets no rest in this. Oh, and Flapjack makes that mistake again through Degna 1, and Gadget elbows out, powers himself past Flapjack through Degna 2. What an eventful couple of laps we've had, and what an eventful couple of laps has Flapjack had. I think he won't be best pleased with what just happened to him there. But those mediums are, of course, very, very old. This is... Flapjack is nearing the end of what is stint 2 for him, and because he pit early, he pit around 20 minutes into the race, the mediums at the front are pretty old and pretty worn, pretty tired at this point for him. Wow, it's dark out on track at the moment. So we've seen that whole fight unravel, and Flapjack pits. So all of that to also pit in the end. Let's remind ourselves what the big picture is. So G-Rabbit is out again on a first set of softs. This is his third stint. Teovo is still in his second stint on the mediums, and Teovo extended the first stint, so he's hoping to go probably until around 70 minutes into the race and maybe change over to whatever will be required by the weather. Vlive is in P3 cleanly, Gadget is in P4, Zulu is the effective tier 2 leader, and boy is it dark out there. It's better we go on boards. Zulu is in P5 on track, tier 2 leader. GTO is 4.5 seconds behind him. Mark GT is in P7. Walker is second for tier 2. Flapjack has just completed his pit stop. This is the beginning of his third stint, and he's on the mediums once again. Juba is P10 and effectively P3 in tier 2. Then goes Mickey and Ayrton Senna. Those are all the cars we have out on track at the moment. Does G-Rabbit have the fastest lap? And the answer is yes, he does. 1:43.2 to G-Rabbit's name. So after having taken pole, he is now on track for a Grand Slam, so to speak. Pole position, fastest lap, all of that good stuff. G-Rabbit seems to be on course to score another perfect weekend, of which he only has had one in race 1. That's when he got pole position and fastest lap. Ever since, even though he's been winning a lot, he hasn't had the pleasure of getting it all ducks in a row, all eggs in one basket for G-Rabbit. Way to go, way to frame the championship. A perfect race in the first one and a perfect race in the last one. But there's still over half an hour to go until the end. Things can still happen, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. But boy, is it dark out there. I mean, what a picture is this? I see there's a car. I don't see where it is exactly. This seems to be Spoon. Yeah, that was Spoon Corner. But boy, this is not the easiest one for a spectator to follow. It is definitely not getting brighter. As I suggested a few minutes ago, it's pretty dark out there at the moment. Although I can see that on the broadcast on YouTube, it's a little bit brighter for you than it is over here for me on the TV. So good job, YouTube. Well done. It's a little easier to follow. Right, have we got any spicy battles out on track? Well, I guess this is the closest pair. GTO following Mark GT, but Mark is very early in his stint, while GTO is probably going to be diving into the pits at the end of this lap. He is extremely low on fuel. And there it is, GTO into the pits. 2% of fuel left. It always brings me joy when a driver cuts it that close and knows exactly what he's doing on fuel. Good job, GTO, getting it to the pit stop. And Walker is pitting as well. I seem to remember that GTO and Walker pit on the same lap a while ago. So they seem to be doing the exact same strategy, these two drivers. They're in different tiers, so no direct competition between them. Zulu seems to be on track at the moment to win the race for Tier 2 and therefore claim P3 in the championship, which is important because the top 3 in Tier 2 are guaranteed promotion for the next season. Another thing that is up for grabs is qualification for Drivers' Room's special event, the Hypercar Handicap Lottery. An outstanding little race. I'm very excited to see how it unfolds. The top 8 from Tier 1 will be qualifying for that, as well as the top 3 for Tier 2. So Zulu right now putting himself in the mix and potentially qualifying for DRHHL. Gadget is into the pits, and the reason is fuel, not tires at this point in time. Same for Zulu. Vlive carries on because Vlive has fueled up a little earlier. Same for the rest of the leaders. They will keep circulating. As we watch Gadget's pit crew fueling him. Are they fueling him? Oh no, Gran Turismo. What a shame. They haven't made the animation for fueling up the Tomahawk. Thankfully, the hybrids are okay. So Zulu's car is actually visually getting fueled up. And Zulu is back out on track on another set of mediums. Gadget has opted for the softs. So he seems to believe that the rain is going to be serious when it comes. It is supposed to arrive around 70 to 80 minutes into the race. We are now 62 minutes into the race, so not long to go, and not long to go either until that expected stretch of rain. I mean, there is no guarantee it's going to be serious, as we have another car pointing in the wrong, well, facing the barrier, and it's Ayrton Senna here at the exit of the hairpin. It's a pretty common location for a mistake on acceleration, and Ayrton Senna ends up with front bumper damage. Unfortunately for him, he's in last place in P12, which, just to remind us, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's P5 in Tier 2, so still on for some good points is Ayrton Senna. He will definitely promote himself at least into P6 in the standings with this result. So even though it may look unimpressive, Ayrton Senna is doing a good job for himself championship-wise. Right, so as I was saying, we are not far away now from that expected spout of rain, and I need to keep an eye out, obviously for the moisture indicator, but also if I happen to see any droplets of rain hitting the surface of the track, or the windshield wipers starting working on the cars. Those will all be indicators that the rain has arrived. And Gadget seems to believe that the rain will arrive, otherwise these softs won't make it until the end. These softs will still need to be changed, although Gadget doesn't have all that much to lose, right? The only person behind him from Tier 1 is GTO. He is, let's look at that, 6.5, around about 24 seconds away from Gadget, which is not a pit stop's distance. So if Gadget were to stop, he would lose out to GTO, who has completed his pit stops by the looks of it. So if it doesn't rain, GTO won't need to stop again. He's got these mediums, he's got the fuel to get until the end of the race. Very low on fuel is the situation for Teovo at the moment. He is 54 seconds behind G-Rabbit, which is of course comfortably more than enough for a pit stop. So G-Rabbit seems to be not just in Tier 1, but in a league of his own today entirely. He's also pretty low on fuel, so it seems like he definitely was expecting rain. We're 66 minutes into the race, so that rain might be coming soon. I'm not sure if the drivers will be able to see it at this point on their radars. So G-Rabbit is probably out of reach. Whatever he does next and whatever happens in terms of weather, Teovo and Vlive will both need to pit because both are low on fuel and their tires aren't particularly great. So they won't be in a fight against each other because they're effectively confined to doing the same thing. Now Mark is fueled up and he has the tires to keep going. So if the rain doesn't come and Vlive and Teovo pit, that would benefit Mark GT, that would benefit Flapjack. It wouldn't benefit Gadget. So we've got several schools of thought here. As G-Rabbit pits with 0% fuel. G-Rabbit, if you're watching this and you took to heart what I said about how I enjoy when drivers cut it close. Well, you win the Cutting It Close championship tonight. 0% fuel as G-Rabbit rolls into his pit box. Now that is cutting it down to the line. Teovo is only emerging from Spoon Corner at this point in time, and he won't be challenging G-Rabbit for P1. G-Rabbit emerges out on track on a set of mediums and fueled up, so now he can go until the end, and nobody is even remotely challenging his dominance in P1. Teovo accepts his fate and dives into the pits before the rain arrives. This is good news, probably, for Mark. Now, I'm not sure if he's close enough to get to Teovo. Probably not, because Mark is in 130R at the moment, but he may be able to reach Vlive. Teovo is getting fueled up now as Mark is over here in the Casio Triangle, the final chicane on track. Teovo seems to have... No, he's still going. He's still fueling up. So Mark passes him. Mark passes both of them, both Teovo and Vlive, and promotes itself, at least temporarily, on track into P2. Now, the bad news for him is that Teovo is now fueled up and on softs, so he's going to be flying in relative terms. Vlive is also on softs, some 13 seconds behind Teovo, so that becomes his ultimate objective in this race: try and reach Mark GT ahead. We still have 20 minutes of racing left, so still a lot can happen. And where's that rain? We were promised rain. The card in the Gran Turismo lobby settings is R06, which is pretty heavy rain, pretty strong probability, but the gods of rain have not been particularly bountiful. They have not been particularly generous with us in this edition of the ADEC Championship. Even when we were expecting rain, it doesn't really come in the copious amounts that we would want. Right, Teovo is chasing Mark down by a significant margin. The gap is down to 1.5. It's decreasing with every update, and I think it's a matter of when, not if, Teovo will make the pass. The leader is chilling, P1, medium tires, just take it home until the end. We are now 70 minutes into the race, and there is not a droplet of rain on track at the moment to spice things up. It seems to be staying dry. Teovo is catching. Teovo is catching, and we should probably be playing the Jaws theme at this point in the race. He is catching by a rate of knots. 0.8 between him and Mark at the moment. He will very soon be on his tail. Oh my god, look at how quickly he is catching up. Teovo's car is obviously better in the way it manages its hybrid battery. He's on Mark's bumper now, so I imagine down this little, you wouldn't even call it a straight, but more like a little bend, he will probably be passing Mark very, very easily. No, not just yet. He proves the commentator wrong, but this is going to be no contest between Teovo and Mark. So what's it going to be? Is it going to be a move into the final chicane? Yes, it is. Teovo takes the inside line, and I get the impression that Mark wasn't really defending all that hard. He seems to have his eyes set on just getting it home in P3, because Vlive behind, while he's on softs and catching, he isn't catching all that dramatically. The gap is 12 seconds. They still have about 18 minutes of racing to go. So Vlive needs to be catching at a rate of about maybe 0.8, 0.9, 10, 0.9 of a second a lap. He seems to be doing that for now, but will he keep doing that for the entire duration of the 18 minutes? He might just run out of steam, but then Mark's tires are also not great. So that is a question we still have to settle. Flapjack is in P5 pretty comfortably, although Gadget behind is on softs. Those softs, though, don't look particularly great. The Gadget might come to regret this decision to take the softs for the end. He obviously was hoping for the rain, and we are inside the supposed rainy bit as Flapjack ahead makes a bit of a mistake and loses time to Gadget. The gap goes from 3 seconds to less than 1 through the Degners. Flapjack probably found it a little difficult to stop the car into Degner 1. We've seen him struggle through that corner several times in the race before. Oh, and that car doesn't seem to be turning for Flapjack. Well, those tires are not that bad, so he should be okay. Maybe just a little out of his element, a little out of the rhythm is Flapjack. Is this another one of those? Yeah, Flapjack will have a lot of battery power, and look at him just powering away from Gadget. That must be so disheartening, you know, when you're following a car that closely and then they're just able to power away through a traction zone. That really gets you thinking about how you should be approaching this whole situation and where you should be trying to create an advantage. Let's check what's happening behind these boys. Zulu is in P7, GTO 8th, Walker is 9th, Juber is 10th, Mickey 11th, and Ayrton 12th, and I'm not seeing any close battles on track, except for the one between Flapjack and Gadget. So let's go back to the boys and see how this one unfolds. We're on board with Gadget as he keeps following Flapjack, and very little to separate them, but from this distance, that car that Flapjack has is really difficult to deal with. The Porsche, even though it depletes its battery early on in the lap, in some of the most crucial moments, such as the main straight, it still gets the power back, and it's still able to withstand Gadget's pressure. And in bad news for Gadget, his front tires are not looking great. That set of softs is losing its competitive edge pretty quickly, so he needs to get a move on, or Flapjack will probably stay in that P5. There's also the other pressure of, you know, potentially not even making it to the end for Gadget. So a lot of things for them to think about in the final parts of the race. Now, back to Vlive, who is chasing Mark. The gap is now down to 9 seconds, and there is still 13 minutes to go. So it seems that Vlive is doing a decent enough job to at least be on Mark's tail by the end of the race. And looking at the condition of Mark's tires, he won't have a lot to offer in terms of defense, although he's in the Audi, which is good on its electric battery. So let's see how this unfolds. We'll have to come back to this as time progresses. And those are the two serious close battles on track in the dying stages of this race. It's Mark versus Blythe for P3 and Flapjack versus Gadget for P5. All in Tier 1. In Tier 2, Zulu is leading pretty comfortably. He's got a 0.5 second penalty, but that won't make a big difference. Walker is second, Juba is third, and then it's Mickey and Ayrton who complete the top 5 for Tier 2. G-Rabbit, untouchable. I mean, what a performance tonight. What a performance throughout the season. 1 minute is his gap from his nearest challenger. I mean, we've lost Funniest Cowboy in this race, who would have been in P2 and closer to G-Rabbit, but it's incredible. Teovo is no slouch. Teovo is fast, and G-Rabbit is gapping him by 1 minute at, what is it, 78 minutes into the race. Oh no, what is happening to Teovo? Teovo has made a mistake. Ah, there he goes. So that's also one reason why the gap is growing right now. Teovo's made a mistake out of Degna 2. He's now recovered it. He's back on track. He's gone through the hairpin. It seems okay for Teovo, but Mark behind him is now just 3 seconds away. So one more mistake like that from Teovo, perhaps a little loss of concentration, and who knows, Mark can find himself in the lofty heights of P2. I would think that Mark is mostly concentrated now on defending and driving his best lines and doing a decent job against Blythe. Blythe is catching. He's now 6.5 seconds away, but time is fading, and we're now almost down to just 10 minutes left to go in this race. No change yet between Mark and Blythe, no change yet between Flapjack and Gadget. They are all as they were. P3 for Mark at the moment, P5 for Flapjack. Let's go on board with Gadget once again through the, I'm gonna call it the zone of pain. So everyone who is behind Flapjack's car coming out of the final chicane gets to experience the zone of pain as the Porsche just powers away, and all you're left with is just looking as it becomes smaller and smaller ahead of you. That's the experience of following it after the Casio Triangle. Gadget really needs to start thinking about preserving those softs somehow, because I'm not sure that he can afford another pit stop, and there's very little useful life left in those fronts. He's obviously thinking about staying as close as he can to Flapjack, and I wonder if Gadget is using his VR set, but he would still be aware of his tire condition. He still gets the indication, even in that case. Yeah, so this is Gadget knowingly choosing to push for now. Let's see whether it produces a result for him. Blythe is getting closer, less than 6 seconds now. He's doing just about enough to be on Mark's tail by the end of the race. Will it be enough to then make the move, though? That is the big question. If you happen to be joining this broadcast at this late hour and you're absolutely confused about what's happening, you're watching the final race of Season 1 in the Absolute Design Endurance Championship 2025. Tonight is our longest race of the season, 1 hour and 30 minutes, and we're an hour and 22 minutes into it, so just 8 minutes away from the checkered flag. G-Rabbit, the reigning, defending, and new champion, is comfortably in P1. Teuvo, his compatriot from Finland, is in P2. Mark GT is in P3, and he is trying to hold on to his set of mediums as he defends P3 from a charging Vlive. Vlive is on a relatively fresh set of softs, although they've done quite a few laps, so they're not as good as they were at the very beginning, and so far he has been doing enough to get to Mark around about near the end of the race. So these two might end up fighting, as are already Flapjack and Gadget. Flapjack is in P5, Gadget is in P6. Gadget's set of softs is a little more tired and a little older than what his teammate Vlive has on the car, and I think this is where Gadget is having to just settle for P6. He doesn't really have that competitive edge and that pace advantage over Flapjack at this point, so I think unless Flapjack makes a mistake, he will get to keep P5 in this race, which will be a great result for Flapjack. He sits in P7 in the championship at the moment. I don't have his previous results in front of me, but I do feel like this will push out his previous worst result. Just to remind you that out of the 8 races we've had this season, each driver's 6 best will contribute to their final tally. So at this point, we are not talking about earning points per se. We're talking about replacing previous weaker results with something better, and I feel that Flapjack is on course to do exactly that. Vlive is now less than 3 seconds away. There must have been a bit of a mistake from Mark. 5 minutes left to go. Just a couple of laps, I think 3 tops for the drivers. So Mark will be hoping that he can keep it together. He just needs to make no mistakes. He has the battery power to help him defend. What is Mark driving? He's in the Audi R18, so it's good on its battery, relatively at least. He will have the benefit of good accelerations out of the final corners right here, a good acceleration out of the hairpins, all of the critical places where you want to accelerate well and to have a bit of an advantage. Vlive will hope that Mark will make a mistake and that his own tires, Vlive's I mean, make it until the end. But he seems fine in that sense. Gadget seems less fine for that, and Gadget in P6 is set to be lapped by the leader. G-Rabbit's something else. I mean, it's almost disheartening, I think, for the other competitors to have to somehow face up against G-Rabbit, because he's unstoppable. He's so fast, super quick. 7 out of the 8 races, well, I mean, I'm already giving the win to G-Rabbit, but he still needs to complete another 4 minutes of racing before it's fully his. But if he does, he will have 7 victories out of 8 this season. It was just that one fluke on High Speed Ring in Japan where, well, I mean, G-Rabbit just didn't find the speed he needed. The NSX in Group 2 was dominant that day, and he had to contend with P4 or P5, I believe. And that's his worst result of the season. Everything else, he's won. Everything he touches, he wins. It does G-Rabbit. A great performance to him, and I don't get tired praising G-Rabbit. This is something else. Nobody in these lobbies is an incompetent driver, so to have that sort of an advantage is remarkable. As Gadget is now cruising, that front right is completely dead, and in the current physics model in Gran Turismo, that means that that car just flat out refuses to turn. Good news for him is that GTO, his direct Tier 1 competitor, is something like 25 seconds away, so unless Gadget's car just stops out on track, he still has a hope of making it until the end. This is a valiant effort, and he's just lost 10 seconds against his previous lap time. A 1:48.0 is what he did on shot softs. A 1:50 is what he did previous lap, and he's now on a 1:58.9. Zulu is rocking up to him very quickly, and when I say very, I mean Zulu's been able to overcome a 5-second gap in less than half a lap, and he passes Gadget pretty easily, and for Gadget, this isn't looking good. 20 seconds to GTO. His fight against Flapjack is obviously over. How is Vlive doing? Vlive is on the tail now of Mark. This probably will be the penultimate lap for this group here. We're now 1 minute 28 and a half into the race. Yeah, once they cross the line, they will only have time for one more lap. Someone has binned it. It's, well, not binned it, but made a mistake through the Casio triangle, and it's Mickey in the Hyundai. He stays in P4 for Tier 2. So the biggest fight is Mark versus Vlive and Gadget versus Tires. He's 12 seconds now ahead of GTO, and oh, how Gadget would have liked for this to be his final lap, but I'm afraid he will have to start one more and hope that 10 seconds or whatever is enough for him to keep GTO at bay, but I feel it won't be enough. Let's go to Vlive. We're on board. He's very close to Mark GT through the S's on what will definitely be their final lap, lap 50 of this race. We're almost at 90 minutes, so we're very close to seeing the final results. Will Vlive be able to find a way past Mark GT? At this point, Mark's mediums and Vlive's softs are equally cooked, so I don't think there's a much of an advantage for Vlive in this one, and to be honest with you, my money is on Mark keeping the position. How is Gadget doing? 5 seconds now, and he's only rounding the first couple of corners. I'm afraid Gadget is going to lose it. We're on board with GTO through the S's, and there he is. Just painful to watch. I mean, GTO's car is not easy to drive, it feels, but he can just waltz around Gadget. Gadget can do whatever he wants. He can position his car anywhere he wants, but it isn't turning. And Walker's pace dives up the inside from Tier 2. Gadget is fighting with GTO. He's holding on to it, but of course GTO just waltzes past. That is no contest at all. Let's go back to Vlive and Mark, and they finish as they were. Mark in P3, Vlive in P4. Teovo has already finished in P2. G-Rabbit has taken another extra lap, lap 51, so he will have completed more than anyone else. Oh no, Teovo was on lap... Ah yeah, so G-Rabbit completed 51, and Teovo completed 50. Flapjack finishes in P5, so in the end he keeps it. Zulu is P6 on track, and P1 in Tier 2. Let's wait for him to cross the line, and that will confirm his P3 in the Tier 2 championship standings. There is Zulu across the line. He takes the win in Tier 2 in the final round. Walker finishes P2, and he's the Tier 2 champion. Congratulations to Walker Space from Ukraine. GTO takes what is P6 in Tier 1, and Gadget on a completely shot set of tires finishes P7. Jubaju, Mickey, and Ayrton Senna from Tier 2 have already completed the race. And there we have it. G-Rabbit takes victory. Pole position, clean race, fastest lap for him, I believe. So another Grand Slam for G-Rabbit and 108 points to his tally. Teovo and Mark GT complete the top 3. For Mark, that would be his best result of the season. And he, well, I don't think he scores enough anyway to promote himself higher than P10, but a great effort and well done today. Vlive is in P4, Flapjack is 5th, GTO is 6th, and Gadget is 7th. Those are the Tier 1 results, and for Tier 2, Zulu takes victory and P3 in the championship. Walker is 2nd in the race and the champion of Tier 2. Then comes Jubaju, Mickey, and Ayrton Senna. Jason and Sweep retired without completing the full race distance. All righty. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you've enjoyed the entire season of Absolute Design Endurance Championship. For now, this is goodbye, as we currently don't have plans to continue with these broadcasts for Season 2. Just a few personal things getting in the way for me. But I'm looking forward to coming back and to bringing you more racing from the Absolute Design Endurance Championship run by the Drivers Room community. I've been Prototype. Please take care. And until we meet next time, as always, Slava Ukraini. Bye-bye.